Want you to picture two apartments. Same city, same neighborhood, similar rent. The first apartment belongs to someone earning $95,000 a year. Walk inside and you'll find a 75-inch television mounted on the wall, a leather sectional that cost $4,000, a kitchen full of appliances, most still in their original boxes, closets overflowing with clothes, a lot of them with tags still attached, a spare bedroom converted into a storage unit for things that haven't been touched in years. This person checks their bank account with a knot in their stomach. They are 2 missed paychecks away from crisis. Now the second apartment. Belongs to someone earning $52,000 a year. Walk inside and you'll notice something different immediately. Space. A modest couch. A reasonable television. A kitchen with exactly the tools that actually get used. A closet with clothes that actually get worn. The spare bedroom is an actual bedroom. This person checks their bank account with calm confidence. They have 18 months of expenses saved and invest 20% of every paycheck. Same neighborhood. The person earning almost half as much has nearly 10 times the financial security. Let that sit there for a second, and then ask yourself which apartment you're living in. Here's the thing most people never understand about money. It is not an income problem. It is a stuff problem. The person earning $95,000 is not bad with money in any obvious way. They don't gamble, they don't have a drug habit, they didn't make one catastrophic decision. They just gradually, quietly, unconsciously accumulated a lifestyle that now requires every single dollar they earn to maintain. And the machine keeps running. More income arrives, more stuff follows. The gap between what they earn and what they actually have never closes. Meanwhile, the person earning $52,000 learned something that changed everything. Owning less does not mean living worse. It means living deliberately. And deliberate living creates the financial margin that most high earners never once experience. Now I'm going to give you 10 rules. Not motivational poster rules, not vibes. Actual mechanics. The kind that explain exactly why some people always seem to have money and others are perpetually confused about where it went. Let's go. Rule 1. Everything you own costs money twice, and most people only ever count the first time. The first cost is obvious. It's the price tag, the number on the receipt, the thing you agreed to. The second cost is the one that quietly bleeds you for years after you've forgotten you even made the purchase. The second cost is storage, maintenance, mental energy, and opportunity cost. Let me make this specific so it's not abstract. That treadmill you bought, it requires space in your home. Space in most urban areas costs roughly $30 to $50 per square foot annually. A treadmill takes up about 20 square feet when you account for the clearance you need around it. That is $600 to $1,000 per year in implicit rent. To store a clothes hanger with a motor in it. And we're not done. That boat sitting in your driveway needs winterization, cleaning, registration, insurance, and repairs. The industry rule of thumb puts annual maintenance costs at roughly 10% of the boat's value. A $30,000 boat costs $3,000 per year just to exist in your life. Even if you never take it on the water. Even if you look at it every weekend and tell yourself you'll use it next summer. And then there's the mental cost. The one nobody puts a number on. Every item you own occupies a slice of your attention. It needs to be cleaned, organized, maintained, worried about, eventually disposed of. Researchers have found that visual clutter measurably increases cortisol levels and reduces the brain's ability to focus. Your stuff is literally stressing you out in ways you cannot consciously detect. It is a slow leak in your brain happening every single day. And finally, opportunity cost. That $15,000 home gym could have been $15,000 in index funds. At historical average returns, $15,000 in index funds over 15 years becomes somewhere around $50,000. You didn't just buy a home gym. You bought a home gym instead of $50,000. The purchase price is the entry fee. The ongoing costs are the subscription you never agreed to. Rule 2. Apply the replacement test to everything you already own. Walk through your home. Look at each item. Ask yourself one question. If this item disappeared today, vanished, gone, would I spend money to replace it? Be honest. Would you go out and buy another fondue set? Would you replace that bread maker that's been on the same shelf for 2.5 years? Would you repurchase those clothes you haven't touched in 18 months? For most things in most homes, the honest answer is no, you would not replace them. They exist in your life through inertia, not intention. They were impulse purchases, gifts you felt obligated to keep, remnants of past hobbies and phases you've quietly moved beyond. And here's the thing nobody says out loud about those items. They have negative value. They cost you space, mental energy, maintenance, and they give you nothing back. Every hour you spend organizing, cleaning around, or even just visually processing items you wouldn't replace is an hour the stuff stole from you. Get rid of them. Sell what has value. Donate what someone else could use. Throw out what serves no one. The psychological weight of owning things you don't actually want is substantial and invisible until it's gone. Rooms feel larger. Decisions feel simpler. Cleaning takes half the time. You know where everything is because everything left has a purpose. Rule 3. Never upgrade out of boredom. And I need you to hear how specific that word is. Boredom. Not necessity, not failure, not genuine need. Boredom. There is a pattern I see constantly in people who earn real money but have almost nothing to show for it. They upgrade perfectly functional things because they're tired of looking at them. Their television works perfectly, but the new model has slightly better contrast. Their phone runs everything flawlessly, but the new release has a marginally improved camera. Their car is completely reliable, but the new model has updated styling, and the neighbor just got one. These upgrades feel like progress. They are wealth destruction wearing a progress costume. The average American replaces their phone every 2 to 3 years. Most of the time, the previous phone works perfectly. Over 30 years, that pattern alone costs somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000 in completely unnecessary purchases. Apply that same upgrade mentality across every category: appliances, furniture, cars, electronics, and the lifetime waste easily clears $200,000. $200,000. Gone. Not to a crash, not to a scam, not to bad luck, to boredom. Minimalists have one definition of functional, and they hold it like a religion. An item is functional until it genuinely cannot perform its purpose. Boredom is not failure. Desire for novelty is not failure. Newer alternatives existing is not failure. Actual breakdown is failure. Everything else is marketing convincing you to solve a problem you don't have. Rule 4. Create friction for spending and ease for saving. This one sounds like psychology homework until you realize it's the single most practical thing on this list. Human behavior follows the path of least resistance. If spending is easy and saving is hard, you will spend. If saving is easy and spending is hard, you will save. That's it. That's the whole rule. So the question is, which one did you make easy? Spending friction looks like removing your stored credit card numbers from Amazon, requiring a 24-hour waiting period before any non-essential purchase, deleting shopping apps from your phone entirely, unsubscribing from every promotional email that exists only to remind you that a sale is happening, avoiding stores unless you have a specific intended purchase already decided. Saving ease looks like automatic transfers to investment accounts on payday before you ever see the money, keeping only small amounts in easily accessible checking, treating savings as a fixed expense that comes out first, not the thing you fund with whatever's left. Here is why this matters more than willpower. Willpower depletes throughout the day. It is a finite resource. It runs low when you're tired, stressed, emotional, or bored. And those are exactly the conditions under which most impulse purchases happen. Someone relying on willpower to not buy something will eventually fail when their willpower account is empty. Someone who deleted the apps and removed the cards simply cannot impulse purchase in that moment. The environment did the work. The 24-hour waiting rule alone eliminates roughly 70% of impulse purchases. Most desires for objects fade within a day, if not immediately acted on. The thing you absolutely had to have on Tuesday night, you've completely forgotten about by Thursday morning. Design your environment to take advantage of that. Rule 5. Count your possessions regularly. I know how this sounds. It sounds obsessive. It sounds like something a person who owns 4 shirts and meditates at 5 in the morning would do. Do it anyway. Because counting forces awareness. And awareness is what prevents the slow, quiet creep of accumulation that derails most people's finances over time. Pick a category. Count how many items you own in it. Write it down. The numbers will shock you. How many shirts do you own? Most people guess low and discover they have 3 or 4 times what they estimated. How many kitchen gadgets? How many pairs of shoes? How many items in the junk drawer you haven't opened in months? How many books you'll never read again? The count itself changes your behavior. Once you know you own 47 shirts, buying number 48 feels different. You're not adding a shirt. You're bringing the collection to 48. The absurdity becomes visible the moment you put a number on it. Set maximum thresholds. 30 items of clothing total. 15 books at any given time. 1 in, 1 out on anything new. You bring something in, something leaves. Without intentional limits, possessions expand to fill every available space. With limits, every addition requires a conscious decision. That friction alone dramatically slows the accumulation. Rule 6. Rent or borrow before you buy. Most items people purchase get used intensively for a short period and then rarely afterward. The excitement of newness fades. The initial enthusiasm evaporates. The item joins the collection of things owned but seldom touched. And the closets and garages across this country are filled with dusty evidence of that pattern. Ski equipment from the phase when they thought they'd ski regularly. Photography gear from when they imagined becoming serious photographers. Music equipment from the band that played exactly 2 shows. Test the interest before you commit to the ownership. Want to get into camping? Rent equipment for the first few trips. Want to try woodworking? Borrow tools from a friend or use a makerspace. Want a kayak? Rent several times before you purchase. This approach does 2 things. First, it reveals whether the enthusiasm is real or temporary. Many interests fade after the first real encounter with the actual activity versus the fantasy of the activity. Better to find this out while renting than after buying equipment that becomes a permanent piece of expensive furniture. Second, it clarifies exactly what you actually need. First-time campers who buy before trying almost always buy too much or the wrong things. Renting lets you learn before committing. When you eventually purchase, you buy precisely what's necessary instead of guessing at what that is. The buy-first mentality has cost the people of this country an enormous amount of money. The garages prove it. Rule 7. Understand the lifestyle multiplier. This is the one that makes big purchases even bigger than they already look. Every major possession connects to other possessions. A boat requires a trailer, a hitch-equipped vehicle to pull it. Storage fees, maintenance supplies, safety equipment, appropriate clothing for the activity. What looked like one purchase is actually an ecosystem of purchases. The true cost is never the item. The true cost is the item, plus everything the item requires to exist in your life. A home gym requires flooring, mirrors, storage solutions, and often renovations. A pool requires chemicals, cleaning equipment, covers, furniture, maintenance tools, and usually landscaping because now the yard looks wrong next to the pool. A motorcycle requires gear, storage, maintenance equipment, and often a truck or trailer to transport it to wherever you're riding. Minimalists calculate the full ecosystem cost before committing to any major purchase. They know a $5,000 purchase might actually represent $8,000 or $12,000 when all the multiplier expenses are included. That full accounting transforms a lot of what seemed reasonable into something clearly excessive. And the multiplier works in reverse too. Sell the boat and you don't just get rid of the boat. You eliminate the storage fees, the insurance, the registration, the maintenance, the trailer, and the towing equipment simultaneously. The savings extend far beyond the item's stated value. Rule 8. Define enough before you start earning more. Here's the trap that catches high earners specifically, and it's almost elegant in how invisible it is. They never define what enough looks like. So as income rises, lifestyle rises to match it. The new lifestyle becomes the new normal. The new normal requires more income to feel like progress. The cycle runs indefinitely. People earning $300,000 feel just as financially stressed as people earning $80,000 because their expectations and expenses expanded in perfect lockstep with their income. The number got bigger. The margin never appeared. Minimalists break this cycle by defining enough before the income arrives. They decide in advance what kind of home is sufficient, what kind of car meets their needs, what level of material comfort constitutes actual satisfaction. Not theoretical satisfaction, actual satisfaction. Then they earn toward that target instead of constantly moving the goalpost every time the paycheck increases. This might mean deciding that a $350,000 home is enough, even when you could eventually afford $600,000. It might mean deciding a $30,000 car is enough when colleagues are driving $70,000 vehicles. It might mean deciding your current wardrobe is enough, even as your income could comfortably support constant upgrades. Defining enough creates a finish line. Without it, you are running an endless race where lifestyle expansion always slightly outpaces income growth. With it, you eventually reach a point where additional income flows directly to wealth rather than consumption. The person who defined enough at $60,000 of annual spending and then started earning $150,000, that $90,000 gap goes directly to financial freedom. The person earning the same $150,000 but constantly redefining enough upward might save almost nothing. Same income, different finish line, completely different life. Rule 9. Measure wealth by what you can choose, not what you can show. The conventional view measures wealth by what you have: houses, cars, stuff. Visible markers of success that signal the right things to the right people at dinner parties. But here's the measurement that actually matters. What can you choose? Can you leave a job that's destroying your mental health? Can you take 6 months off to deal with a family emergency? Can you move to a new city? Can you start something without guaranteed income? Can you retire before 65? Can you say no to opportunities that pay well but require you to compromise something you actually care about? Those options, that list right there, that's real wealth. And it is only available to people who've built a real gap between what they earn and what they spend. The person earning $200,000 but spending $195,000 has almost no optionality. They are completely chained to their income requirement. One disruption and the whole thing cracks. The person earning $80,000 but spending $45,000 has extraordinary optionality. They can absorb disruptions, take risks, make decisions based on what they actually want instead of what they can afford to accept. And here's the reframe that changes every spending decision you make going forward. Every purchase is not just exchanging money for an object. It is trading optionality for possession. Is this thing worth reducing your ability to make free choices about your own life? Sometimes the answer is yes. Most of the time the answer is no. And the only way you know the difference is if you've been honest with yourself about what optionality is actually worth to you. Rule 10. Declutter on a cycle, not in a panic. Most people who attempt minimalism do a massive purge, feel incredible for about 3 weeks, and then slowly, quietly, invisibly, accumulate right back to where they started. Within 2 years, they're standing in the same pile of stuff wondering why the purge didn't take. Here's why it didn't take. A single massive purge treats the symptom. Cyclical decluttering addresses the pattern. Small, regular reviews. A weekly glance at what's coming into the house. A monthly evaluation of one category. A quarterly check of overall accumulation trends. Removing 3 items per week is manageable and sustainable indefinitely. Removing 300 items once a year feels overwhelming, gets postponed, and then becomes the thing you were going to do last spring. The cyclical approach also maintains awareness in a way a single annual purge never can. When you look at your possessions regularly, you notice patterns. You see which categories keep growing. You identify which emotional states trigger acquisition. You recognize which marketing tactics specifically work on you. That awareness enables prevention, not just treatment. Now here's the part nobody tells you about minimalism and money. The relationship runs both directions. Owning less creates more money, but having more money also makes owning less feel natural. When your savings account is solid and your investments are growing, the urge to accumulate shrinks. The psychological need that drives most consumption, the need for security, the need for status, those needs get satisfied by actual financial strength instead of by physical objects. You stop needing the stuff to feel successful because the bank account is already telling you the story you need to hear. Most people trapped in consumption cycles can't explain why they buy so much. The truth is usually that spending temporarily fills an emotional void that financial insecurity creates. Address the insecurity through real financial strength, and the compulsion to spend often dissolves on its own. Spending less leads to saving more. Saving more creates security. Security reduces the emotional drive to spend. Reduced spending accelerates saving. Each turn reinforces the next. And the opposite cycle is equally powerful and completely destructive. Spending everything creates insecurity. Insecurity drives more spending as temporary relief. More spending deepens the insecurity. The cycle runs until something external forces it to break. The choice between those two cycles determines your financial trajectory more than your income ever could. High earners in the destructive cycle build nothing. Modest earners in the virtuous cycle build everything. Here's what you do this week. Walk through your home with the replacement test in mind. Identify 10 items you would not replace if they disappeared. Get rid of them. This month, implement the 24-hour rule on every non-essential purchase. Track how many desires survive the wait versus how many you completely forget about by morning. This quarter, count your possessions in 3 categories that tend to accumulate for most people: clothing, kitchen items, entertainment. Set a maximum for each. And this year, write down what enough looks like. What home is sufficient for you? What transportation meets your needs? What wardrobe actually serves your life? Write it down. Put it somewhere you'll see it. Because the entire marketplace is organized around making you forget what enough is. And every time you forget, they win and you pay. That first apartment, the one with the 75-inch TV, and the full closets, and the person checking their balance with dread, that's not a story about someone who makes bad decisions. It's a story about someone who never questioned the assumption that more stuff equals better life. The second apartment, the one with the space and the 18 months of savings, That person didn't get there through exceptional income. They got there through exceptional clarity about what actually matters. Both of those lives are available to you right now, regardless of what you currently earn. The only question is whether you own your possessions, or your possessions own you. The math strongly favors one option. So does every morning you wake up without a knot in your stomach. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing in this video constitutes financial advice. Consult a licensed professional before making any major financial decisions. And maybe go look at what's in that spare bedroom before you add anything else to it.